We are live. Okay, well, hello. I'm sure we'll get more joiners as we go, but we've got a really ambitious agenda, and I love small groups, so if I'm happy if it's just us for the rest of the entire time. But we've got a lot we want to cover. So first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Lisa Payton. I think everybody knows who I am. I worked at Intel for about 5 years. I've been in the immersive technology space for a lot longer than that. I've been a kind of an advocate of immersive tech since Second Life was a thing in 2006, and I've just been kind of sold ever since. And really using immersive technology and emerging tech to connect with audiences in new ways is my passion point. It's really what I love doing, and I particularly love business communications and B2B and using some of these cool new technologies for business. So that's me in a very quick nutshell. And Billy, who is my co-host of this lovely journey, go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody. I'm sure everyone knows who you are too, but
I think everybody knows who I am too. But for those that I know are going to listen later, I am Billy Goldman. I do work at Intel. Lisa is a really good friend of mine and has invited me to be a part of this metaverse exploration. And I do marketing at Intel. I've been at Intel for up teen years, doing everything from PR, product marketing, sales, partner marketing, brand strategy, and I keep coming back to partner marketing. In my efforts, I've won 23 Cannes Lions. I won a Daytime Emmy. I want to be innovative. I want to be first. I want to be out there. And the metaverse is a hot topic, and I am paying really, really, really close attention as I really want to do stuff out here. And so this is why Lisa and I are plunking around and kind of figuring it out. And I'm so thrilled that everybody is kind of coming along with us for, figuring it out together.
Yes, awesome. Good. And this is just what we're going to be talking about today. Metaverse. We're going to talk about that and talk about the terminology. And I'm going to give you my definition of the metaverse. And we'll talk about the differences between virtual events and virtual spaces. And then we've got two places we're going to go on the pub crawl. And actually there's a link if you want to go to the first place, which is, I'm going to call it a 3D virtual space. This is not a metaverse, to be very clear. And we'll talk about the difference in just 2 seconds. But you're welcome to join. So this is browser-based. Chrome is the preferred browser, and you probably should not be behind a firewall for this to work optimally. But I'm also presenting this presentation right now in World, in LearnBright. So if you click on the link, you can go ahead and, as Billy says, plunk around in that as we get started. And I will also say that please ask questions. It's such a small group, like just unmute and ask questions at any point. If you're not comfortable unmuting, throw them in chat and let me know if you have questions. And Nathan, since you're our regular person, and would you mind maybe monitoring chat just in case questions come over, just to kind of keep an eye on it? It'd be super helpful. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm volunteering you. You didn't know I was going to put you to work tonight, did you? But anyway,
I posted the link again at the bottom of.
I appreciate it.
There we go.
Okay. And Billy and I are going to tag team here. So I'm going to take a few slides, and then she's going to take a few slides. So here's the first thing. And all of this stuff is so new that this might even be controversial. And this is my definition of the metaverse. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and every time I seem to present this definition, it changes a little bit and grows and expands because I want to be really clear about what the metaverse is not. But in my view, the metaverse doesn't exist right now. It is an aspirational concept. And the definition that I like to work with here is that the metaverse is an open, interoperable, persistent network of virtual worlds offering access to 3D virtual spaces, activities, and environments created by users. So we think really about a universe. You think about all of the planets within the universe someday. If we're Star Trek, if you think about Star Trek, where everyone's jumping around from planet to planet within the many different galaxies, that, in my view, is a good definition of the metaverse. We don't have that yet. Right now, we have what I'm going to call, some cool virtual worlds.
Wait.
Oh,
let's go back.
Okay.
Sure everybody really gets this, right? It's open, meaning anybody can join, right? It's interoperable, meaning it works together, right? You can move between them. It's persistent. It means that it's always on, right? It's always there. And it's, these virtual worlds, right? The universe that Lisa's talking about that offers spaces, it offers activities, it offers environments that can be created by users, brands, whatever. Okay. just want to level set for everybody, right? Because there's a lot of gobbledygook and words in there that, it's like, okay, what are we really talking about here?
David.
Hey, so it's interesting because I went to a display technology conference back in May, and they had metaverse there quite a bit as well. And we're talking about metaverse. And in the display space, it seemed to be more of a combination of screen technology that incorporated virtual reality plus augmented reality
mixed
to create a universe, if you will.
Yes, we will get there. We will get there. Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Are we going to talk about? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
we are, because it's one of the spaces. It's like TouchCast, right? I mean,
what was the name of the platform, Dave? Do you remember?
Oh, it wasn't a platform. It was like Samsung, LG.
Just built something.
It was display manufacturers, people that had virtual reality headsets that were then incorporating augmented reality as part of it, to create kind of an interactive universe, if you will.
Space, was it always on? I mean, we could,
it wasn't necessarily always on. It was just like turning on your TV or playing, going and playing a game. But
they're spending a lot of money in the space, Samsung. They really are.
I mean, but my point being that it seems like it does have a lot of different connotations, and
everyone's
like you're saying, I don't think there's a totally agreed upon definition of what it is or what it's going to be.
And this is so, and again, this is so I would, when I think about all of these people that are presenting as being a metaverse, I ask these questions. Can I integrate with all of the other virtual worlds out there? Can I take my avatar and can I literally, I mean, I have a physical body. If I were to be able to travel, to a different planet, I would have my physical body would be the same physical body and I'm traveling to a different planet. That doesn't exist. You have to have a completely different avatar. Yes, there are people that are trying to solve for that, but I can't just teleport from Roblox to, Second Life, to Fortnite, to IMVU. I mean, these are all the virtual worlds that are out there and they are absolutely not interoperable in any way. So I can get hung up. I'm a kind of a science geek and can get really hung up on definitions, and we could spend the whole night here. So, and I don't want to, but
we have a lot to cover.
Yeah,
okay,
let's keep going.
I didn't mean to take you down a rabbit hole. I apologize. But go, Billy, go.
No, you work for a very techy company. I know we're kind of like-minded, Dave. So I can talk this talk. I love talking this talk. But so this brings us to the next thing. All right. So if we kind of agree that metaverse is an interoperable, connected network of virtual worlds, then we ask, well, okay, what exactly is a virtual world? And I like this definition. A virtual world is a persistent, again, that word persistent, computer simulated environment, which may be populated by many users who can create a personal avatar and simultaneously and independently explore the virtual world, participate in its activities, and communicate with others. And that's from Wikipedia, but you think now we're talking about a planet within the universe. So you've got the universe, now we've got a planet. And this is where I think most of the things today, many of them, not all of them, that are presenting as metaverses, really in my world, I would call them a virtual world. I would not call them a metaverse, right? Exactly. I call them they're walled gardens, they're this, they're that, they're not interconnected. Some of them aren't even persistent. If it's not persistent, I don't call it a virtual world. And what do I call it if it's not persistent? Well, this is what I call a virtual space, right? So a virtual space or a virtual environment now is something I would call, or use these terms are used interchangeably to describe a computer simulated place or environment with which users can interact via an interface. So this is like the very broad, but if we think about something that's non-persistent, and if we think about very specifically virtual event platforms, which are becoming a huge thing right now, they're immersive virtual event platforms, but if that event ends and that all the people go away and the platform goes away, I don't consider that a virtual world. I instead would call that a virtual space.
Imagine, event spaces here, right? We've kind of been in these event spaces. And on the previous slide, Lisa, I just wanted to say, like, that was Roblox or Fortnite, right? When you think of a virtual world versus a virtual space, which is kind of like, you invite in who you want in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just like the, metaverse does not equal VR. And this is another thing that I think that sometimes laymen do get a little confused, because frankly, the media interchanges these words frequently because they don't necessarily have the deep dive knowledge. And so we're all kind of trying to learn, but the metaverse is an open shared virtual world with 3D virtual spaces where users can explore and interact with content and other users as digital avatars, where VR is really a technology that it's to create the three-dimensional environments. It's the, virtual reality is something that is a technology that is owned by the brand, whereas the metaverse is really more about that world connected environment. So it's very different things. It's like, virtual reality content is content within the metaverse more than the metaverse itself, if that makes sense. And again,
that is not always required.
No, absolutely. And I'll send these slides out. So, because there's a lot here and we don't. So I'm going to, who's investing? I think this is a great question. So Billy, do you want to?
Yeah, I found this data really interesting. Who's really spending money in the metaverse, and to build it and to create those environments. And you look at ByteDance, okay, the TikTok, okay, that kind of makes sense, right? You can kind of see where they're maybe headed down the road. And Epic Games, this one makes sense too. You see with all the gaming stuff, Google, oh, Hyundai, oh, okay, Meta, yeah, we all know Meta, and Microsoft, right? Because they have their own virtual space. And to then to see how much they're actually spending here, it's like, holy cow. So this is, not just a hot topic. This is going to explode and become much more than it is today. We are in our total infancy, and we are far, far, far from an actual real metaverse where whatever these guys are building, whatever they're doing, is more than likely not going to connect. My avatar's not going to be able to move around. I'm not going to be able to use my money when, going to all these different places, right? Or whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, I love
but
that.
Let's keep an eye on these guys, people, because look how much money they're spending.
Yeah, a lot of money.
A lot of money.
So here's another slide that just is a nice chart that talks about some of the different virtual worlds. Again, I'm going to refrain from using the word metaverse since I don't consider them to be metaverses. But this gives you an idea of size. In the millions, lots and lots of people using these on the upper left here. One really obvious thing as I've been studying and looking at these, if it's not optimized for mobile, the numbers very rarely exceed 1 million. Anything that's up here in the tens or hundreds of millions of users, all are mobile, primarily mobile, tablet. Everything that's desktop is much smaller, and I think that's just something. It's not just VR headsets that are limiting it; it's desktop PC that's limiting the audience. So it's just something really, I think, worth noting. And then here's an eyesore, I know, but
this is my favorite chart.
This is my at a glance VR virtual world, and I've got another chart for what I'm going to call virtual spaces as well. But this is, talks about the number of monthly users. It talks about whether it has a VR option or not, whether it's mobile optimized or not, where I could find demographic numbers. I provided those, whether it's on the blockchain or not, and then all the devices that are supported. And I'm showing this slide particularly because Roblox, which is one of the platforms that we're going to be pub crawling to tonight, is right here. It's one of the biggest. It's 150 million monthly active users.
It's crazy. Look at Decentraland, you guys. I mean, 300,000 measly people. And how much advertising have we seen around Decentraland lately? I mean, right? It's kind of crazy.
So anyway, I come back to this chart over and over again, and I don't want to deep dive on it too much, but I just love looking at the comparisons here with the numbers.
Right, AltVR is not owned by Microsoft. Look how small that is.
Yeah,
right.
I love AltSpace VR,
and it's a beautiful space. But look how few people are in it. And I'm happy Microsoft's spending money there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Second Life. Wait. Can we go back to Second Life?
Yes, absolutely.
So for this crowd, I mean, let's talk about Second Life, right? It launched in 1983. It has been around a really long time. and there are people still using it. This hasn't died, right? And there have been a zillion lessons learned, and everybody's making all the same mistakes again. None of those learnings are really being used. I find it frustrating. But Second Life, very hard to use, huge learning curve, costs money. I mean, Lisa, how much money have you spent in Second Life?
Really? You're going to put me on the spot and ask me that?
Spot. Seriously,
Really?
honey. I know.
It does have mature content, right? It does have mature content. So, yes, I have spent quite a bit of money back in the day, back well before, back in the day. But it's, the interesting thing, as I was reading an article today, Billy, and what you're looking at right here is an amazing chart. I have the whole chart in the deck somewhere, but this segment of the chart is a great comparison around the numbers. So you can see obviously the bigger circles have millions, and this gives you a sense again of scale and also demographic. We've got the younger platforms on the top and then older demographics on the bottom. Second Life is right here. You can see it has 1 million users with an older demographic. To Billy's point, if you're looking for an active virtual world for business professionals and you're looking for something that's not kids or tweens or teens, these ones down here are the ones you look at, frankly. Right. The IMVUs, the Stein Spaces, the break rooms, the Second Life, these ones. So Second Life is filled with a lot of great, older people that are doing a lot of business. Now, are they doing business on Second Life? No, they're there for something else. Probably it's a social platform, but it has been around. They've really solved a lot of the problems that some of these other platforms are struggling with right now, and they solved for them years ago. And I don't want to deep dive on Second Life too much here because that's a different episode of the pub crawl. So let me pop back to where we were here. Okay, the other thing that I want to level set on is just virtual event technology, because these lines are getting blurry, right? As I said, there's virtual worlds and then there's virtual spaces. And even all these virtual event technologies, spaces are calling themselves metaverses too, but they're not. So I just wanted to give you, again, my definition. So when I say 2D, when I talk about 2D virtual event spaces, I'm talking strictly about video conferencing. I'm talking really about Zoom. It's flat. It looks like this. This is what I call 2D kind of virtual event tech. If we start thinking about 2.5D, this is where we start getting now. They have, it looks like it's 3D, right? They have an actual image of a 3D space, but you can't navigate within this image. This is a flat skinned image. There's no moving around 3D objects. It's something that looks a little bit fun. It looks like it has bells and whistles, but really it's just 2D streaming technology within a fancy shell, if you will.
You could zoom in at best.
At best, and not even really at that. Right. You can click on something and it's going to take you to something. So some examples here, and a lot of the enterprise technology virtual event platforms that are selling themselves as immersive virtual worlds are actually this flavor of this thing, where like the 6Connects, the vFairs, the On24s, and TouchCast, everything that I've seen around TouchCast is also right here in this 2.5D space. I don't play here. This is not my sandbox. Where I play is here. 3D, baby. So when we start thinking about 3D virtual event and a truly immersive event technology, again, these spaces, they're spaces, they're not worlds, because many of them aren't persistent. They are created for an event. You can come to the event, very much like those of you that are hanging out in LearnBright watching me present this right now. It's the same idea. I've created that space for our event specifically, and we can come together, we have the event, but it's not a connected world where other people can come and join. It's private. That's another huge caveat here. Virtual world isn't necessarily private. And when you think about the world, people are walking around. It's a public space. This is a walled garden. So just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I, because the lines are so blurry. I mean, you look at the picture here, this is LearnBright. You're like, oh, that looks like an immersive virtual world. And it absolutely does. And I'm sure some people would consider it to be, but I would consider this more to be an immersive virtual event platform or a virtual space rather than a virtual world. And again, we're getting nitpicky here, but you have to be, because it gets just really confusing and really fast if we're not kind of on the same page with the terminology. So here's my final iSource. So there are 3D virtual spaces. This is the chart. I think one thing to think about with these 3D virtual spaces are maximum number of users. That's a huge thing, right? Can they scale? And most of them can. Like LearnBright, what you're in right now, or what we're going to be in just 2 minutes, absolutely can scale. We can talk more about that when we're in there. You can have over 1,000 users simultaneously interacting, watching presentations. Some of these platforms have great VR options. Some of them do not. One of the things that I love about LearnBright is that it's web-based. You can just click on a link like you've done already if you've clicked on the link and go there without having to download anything. It's mobile friendly, believe it or not. You can actually use your phone. And it was built intentionally with that purpose in mind. They made it very accessible so that everybody could come in on their device that they chose and engage. All right, what else do we have here? I want to get in. I want to go. Some very quick news items, and I'm not going to spend so just in a nutshell, I've got some good news items here with the links. I mean, in a nutshell, these platforms like Sandbox and Decentraland, which are built on the blockchain, they're tanking. They're just not. They're
falling 29%, 15% over the last month.
Users,
they're hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
They're hemorrhaging.
GameFi, which is this gaming and finance thing that this is like the worlds that are run on crypto, that they're also suffering, and people that kind of know what they're talking about definitely predict that this is not going to be a real thing. It's going to go away. I love this quote. They're basically calling these types of they call them GameFi, or it's pay to play, that you get paid to play, as being Ponzi schemes. And frankly, I totally agree with it. There's a lot of scams going on out there with these types of platforms, and the games aren't very fun. And to be honest with you, Second Life solved this years ago. And I talk about this and I get really passionate, but they used to have the same thing. So in order to get the numbers, so everybody wants to have more monthly active users. In order to get those active users, you need players. So how do you do that? Well, you pay them a pittance to come and play some dumb, boring, repetitive game so that you look like you have a lot of users. So it appeals to investors and it looks like this thing is working. But really what it is, it's you've got, hundreds of thousands of people, frankly, who are, not very well off, making a pittance, sitting around playing these games, and it ruins the entire experience. And that, these people are in there just doing these things, and it's not like anybody's really engaging in the community. It's like, just thinking like squatters. It's kind of like they're squatting, and it's very sad. And anyway, Second Life had this issue early on, and they solved for it. And that's just an example. And that was a decade ago. And this is really no different. Yeah. So this will, I think, be very short-lived. That's the long and short of it there. Yeah. And please stop me, disagree with me, anybody, Nathan, if you want to.
The thing that I would be careful with there is there's a lot of folks who are still really bullish on the idea that a mechanism like blockchain would be really helpful for making interoperable user-directed experiences. Billy, you were talking about this like a month ago about like, isn't blockchain supposed to be about security? Why are we spending so much time on speculation instead? And so like, there's also, right, like one of the barriers for the metaverse being interoperable and being widely usable is that services that we're used to now have some sort of analog there. And right, being able to spend money in the metaverse is actually really hard because you typically have to enter your credit card information while you're in a VR headset.
Yeah,
and that is not
they
fun.
even ask for your passport. I mean, they ask for some really information that I don't want to give. Thank you very much
for the crypto wallet.
Yeah.
Well, and here again, like there's nothing that special. I was reading this article and they're like, oh, the difference here is that people are actually buying things and then and they've got a currency and they can take the digital asset, and transfer it to other. Second Life was doing that a decade ago. People, I'm sorry, like they had a currency 10 years ago and they solved this problem. I just don't understand, like for me, because I've been in it for so long, like that's not a new thing. And in fact, I think Second Life did it better in a way. But anyway, it's everybody, now all the attention is on it, the spotlight is here. And I will say, Nathan, I completely agree with you that the technology potentially could create exactly what we want, which is this interoperable thing. It's just right now, it's just so corrupted. The people, what they're doing, it's not, again, the article says it, I think, much better than I can, that we're just in the very nascent stages of this, and there needs to be serious like regulations and frameworks in place to really make this not a Ponzi scheme and not to make it about exploiting people and you know, having them lose thousands and thousands of dollars on crap, basically. So anyway, not bullish on any of these, and the numbers are so small that it's not necessarily even a
Worth
thing
talking
anyway.
about.
Yeah, it's not
I
even
like-
really worth. It's
And
not even
like
really worth
Snoop
talking about.
Dogg's thing, you know, $1,000 to get in there and actually plunk around in his world, right? It's like, come on, man, that's
Yeah.
not going to last long.
And if you, I mean, and here you can see, so this is in development. Anything under 500,000 users. I mean, all of these Ethereum based. Look how small they are. Like that, like compared to over here where we've got our millions. This is it. Like it's just a little blip. It's a blip on the radar right now, and you would think that it's much bigger given all of the coverage that it's been
Hype.
getting.
Yeah, it's got a lot of hype.
Yeah. So that's the setup. Let's go. Let's play. So Billy, who's presenting? Am I
You want me to
presenting?
present? I'll present.
Yeah, let's go. So we're going to start.
Okay.
Join us in LearnBright, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing. The link is there. I'm going to jump over and let's see who we got in LearnBright. It's very exciting.
Okay,
And we'll
can you
we'll
guys see my
talk a
screen?
little bit about it.
Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, guys. So here I am in LearnBright.
Ah, yay. Hi, everybody.
Yay. And if you drop in here with me, you'll notice these little blue teardrops. This is the way to get around. You click on it and you'll end up down there. If you use your arrows, you can actually turn your perspective around as far as getting around. If you want to go somewhere and there's no blue dot or no blue little teardrop, you can click on your right mouse button and hold it down. And I think it'll put you there, right, Lisa?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
That's it. And then let's see here. What else? Lisa, can you give us all the codes for doing some good dance moves?
Yeah, so if you look in chat, I have dropped in several scripted codes. If you want to do something kind of fun, you can copy and paste the code in. So like, for example, you could do / facepalm or any of these, just try a few. I like Dark Angel. That's sort of my favorite go-to dance move. I like that one.
Let's do one. All right, I see people dropping in. This is so
I
great.
love all these people. It's awesome.
Okay, so if you guys notice, there's a screen up here. You can see that we're actually seeing Lisa's presentation, right? Yes, everybody's dropping in. And so make your way around. I am unable to turn for some reason. I'm not sure what's happening there. It is not letting me move around.
Mine said it dropped the connection.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, and they say 1,000 people can be in here. Uh-oh. Well, oh, there, I am able to move. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden it's working now. Okay, so I was just going to sit here in one of these chairs so that you can actually see the screen. You can actually click on the screen so it actually will zoom in if you want. As you're sitting there watching it as if you're in a big hall. You can go back. Up here at the top, I'll turn around again. Up here, let me get up here. Lisa has actually created a space for us to have some beers. And there's Lisa. Hi,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Hi, all the cool kids are hanging out in the back of the room. Come back here with me. We've got like beer and we've got cupcakes and sushi or something. I don't know.
This is great.
The point is, so it is fun and you're thinking, okay, well, this is fun, but let's talk about the real business applications of this. I mean, first of all, everything that you can do in Zoom, you can do in here. That's number one. And I'm not, and I also want to be really clear that I'm not suggesting that this would take the place of every Zoom meeting. I mean, absolutely not. There's a time and a place, but you can live stream, right? I've seen events where they're live streaming in presentations. If you're nervous that your presenter might have a hard time presenting in an immersive space like this, you can have it set up that they just go to Zoom, present in Zoom, and it will come onto the screen. So this particular platform, one of the reasons I like it, and there's several reasons, they are a client that Zoom, they are partnered with Zoom very closely and have built their own kind of API based integration with Zoom. So that's just, they make it really easy to get in here and to present so you can do everything you can do in Zoom in here. It's obviously a more embodied experience, and this is something that, as a new academic, really thinking about creating that sense of presence, embodiment. There is lots of research showing, I mean, just looking at y'all on the screen, like, right, like Jill, like I feel so much closer to Jill, like, oh wow, there's Jill and she's right there, and like we're having an embodied experience, like we're in a space together, that you just can't mimic on Zoom, right? And there's a time and a place where that's really valuable, and it's just understanding, like, when do I want to create? Maybe you want to do team building, maybe you're trying to create a sense of a collaboration where you want to develop that. So again, it's like pick and choose when you would use this type of an immersive platform. I also just like to call out that, again, browser based, you could take this link and distribute it anywhere. You can distribute it on social. This works on mobile. It works on PC. It works on a tablet. It works on everything. Yes, you can also put someone in a VR headset. It's not the best experience, but it's doable. And so,
Hey, Lisa,
yeah,
So
question.
why am I the only one in my world?
Oh no.
Like, honestly, I'm the only one. There's Dave. I mean, Dave's in my world, but there's nobody.
Hi. Well, this
That's
is
the birthday one, maybe.
Am I in a different one?
Oh yeah, you might be in the birthday one. So and actually that's a perfect segue, and maybe so make
It's a sad birthday party.
so make sure that you're in the right one. And while we're doing that, Billy, why don't you let me share, and I'll give some, while everyone's kind of palling around, I will give some so just very quick information on how you actually create. This is really, because this is cool, because it's really easy. And I like, so if we go up here, my board. So these are all the rooms that I've created on LearnBrite, everybody. And they've got dozens of pre-built templates that you just can, so all I would do is create a new space. And in fact, I'll show y'all how to do it. So I would click create a new space. And then these are all the pre-builts. Right, so with a click of a button, I can create any of these spaces that I want. They've got the Zoom auditorium, as I said, that is all set up and ready to rock and roll, integrated with Zoom. There's a lot of, there's training rooms, there's island retreats, there's cafes, there's a Japanese city, there's there's something for whatever you're trying to do, frankly. Maybe you just want a one-on-one collaboration space, that's in here too. But I use today the auditorium, so I would just click, choose the template, and then I just click down here and click create space, and then that's done.
So everybody, I just want to make sure you're switching back over to the Zoom, and you can see how many of these pre-built worlds already exist, right? And there's a free version of this program. You can come in here and you can create this, and you can have a meeting in here if you wanted to. You could have a team building event in here, right? I mean, this is a really interesting platform.
Billy, are there any limits as to the number of people you can have in there?
On the free version, there is, Lisa, what is it, 25 or something like that?
Yeah, it's I think, I don't know, Dave, what the limit is on the free version. It probably is something like 25, maybe 50. I'm sure if you go to the website, it would tell you how many users you get on the freemium model. But if you wanted to pay, and it's not an expensive platform for corporate standards, it absolutely can scale. And the way that they do that is they create instances. So you might say, well, this space only looks like it's going to hold 50 people. It has 50 seats. Well, fine. As soon as 50 seats are full, it just builds a mirror image of a new instance with 50 more and 50 more, 50 more and 50 more. Everything that is being displayed, like if you're showing a presentation or someone's on stage, would all be exactly mirrored across every single instance. So you're not gonna, the only bad thing or kind of negative there is you're not going to have the 500 people together in one room. You're going to have them across 10 different instances, if that makes sense.
Limited. Each one has its own limitations, right? And we do spend time in each one. At our next pub crawl, we'll do another one of these, and we'll do another 3D, world too, because we visit them all. They all have positives, they all have negatives, and we talk about those in each. But this is not really a branded environment, right? This is where you take an event and you have something. Lisa, I think going into your University of Oregon one is a great example. Do we want to do that before we hop over to Roblox?
Yeah, let's look at one
Lisa?
more of these spaces. Yeah.
There's a question in chat from
Yay.
Darren that says, from an accessibility standpoint, how would a person participate in this platform if that person has disabilities that prevents them from, I think this means like using keyboards and mice.
Yeah.
Certainly, and I can explain that one. So thank you. So Duran Simmons here, from an Intel perspective, right? I'm certainly always thinking from the inclusion angle, and some of these platforms, unfortunately, it just is inaccessible to new people who you don't have use some of the abilities that many others have. So, for instance, if we couldn't see, then there isn't enough audio cues or navigation cues to have that same experience. So in general, and platforms such as these, right, this 2.5/3D space, how are developers conquering that accessibility issue?
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I can tell you, I worked with Danny, the founder and CEO of this company, and he was working like tirelessly to try and address those issues, Darren. I don't know, I haven't worked with him in 6 months or so. So I don't know the answer to your question exactly. I know that, as I said, and he built this with accessibility in mind, and not just cross-device accessibility, but for everyone. And I wish Danny were here because he'd be able to speak to that question much better than I. But I'm happy to try and get that answer for you, and I can follow up with an email and let you know. I will say, from kind of the more common question, Darren, that I get is, can this, how does this work with enterprise, and can it work behind a firewall? I mean, that's that type of accessibility. All of that works. Danny and this company have worked with companies like Dell, Fujitsu, many large corporations that have the same issues, and Danny has figured out an answer. I mean, the fact that it's web-based has helped solve for a lot of the accessibility issues in terms of not the other type of accessibility issues, I should say.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, the security is one aspect of it, and I think those can always be overcome. But it'd be great to have a follow-up response on that, because if we have a platform that's open to some but isn't open to all, then unfortunately it's hard to advocate it for it corporate wide. So I'd be interested in a response from Danny on that.
Yeah, well, let me ask you: do you consider Zoom to be accessible? Do you not have any?
It's a number of things, such as like keyboard functions, things such as color contrast. So there's a whole list of items that would go into what's considered accessible. But for something like this, where there's so many interactions and whatnot, and maybe it's just because we're in this meeting where we can't hear the audio cues, but we would just go through and ensure that there would be a checklist of things where everyone can participate in some meaningful way. So we don't want to leave anyone out.
Yeah, but I guess, so does Zoom check the boxes for you, or no?
I don't know about Zoom. I would say Microsoft Teams does. I'm not sure if Zoom has features such as text to speech and some other accessible features, but there are certain video conferences or 2D options that would check the box. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think that's just an interesting, and again, I'm happy to follow up, and I'll take the AR to follow up and find out the answer for you, because I'm curious now that you asked. But one solve for that, if you had a platform like Zoom, or actually this can integrate with almost any, and in fact, I know Danny has done work with Microsoft before and has worked on projects where he's integrated with Teams as well. So if you had a solution that did work for you, you could always offer kind of the twofer, right? Like, hey, we've got the more robust, but there could certainly be an accessible version on whatever the platform is that you chose. So that the fact that they integrate, I think, very easily might help solve for some of that. But I'm happy to check for you. Good question.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that response.
A straight up answer for Duran is that the W3 has standards for XR accessibility as well. And there's a number of standards groups that are in the process of developing these sorts of things across, unfortunately, right, there's a number of standards groups and there's a number of folks looking to solve them, but W3 has initiatives around it, and I'm pretty sure Kronos Group does as well. So there are at least standards, are individual startups and platforms using those standards and leveraging them as those of us passionate about accessibility would hope. It's probably team by team, product group by product group, and not universal.
Yeah, it's wonderful to hear that there are standards, so thank you for sharing.
Yeah, link is in the Zoom chat there.
Yeah, Nathan, Darren, you guys should connect, and Darren, I'm happy to help you connect there because Nathan is a wealth of information.
So just very quickly before we bounce and head into Roblox, which is our final stop on this pub crawl, I wanted to just very quickly explain this case use for this space. So just to give some context, I built this space in about an hour. It took me an hour to build it. It was a template that I updated with, UO branding. And then what you're looking at, and the way I used this, during COVID, I was teaching my intro to marketing class at UO, and it was all online. We were supposed to have an in-person class, but we had to pivot. And the output of that class are what you're seeing are these video presentations. So typically the presentations would have been in person for my teams to present their marketing strategies, but instead I had them record videos. And so what I wanted was some sort of place where we could come together as a group and collaboratively watch these videos and celebrate them. And I wanted it to be something better than just a Zoom room. And so I created this space, and it worked really, really well. All the students could come in, and it worked on phone. Believe it or not, it worked on their mobile phone. If you had a smartphone or a tablet, you could come in and watch these. It didn't have to be on a PC. And that was really compelling, especially for, the students who aren't necessarily so hip on sitting at a PC all the time. So again, super easy, took me an hour. It really spiced up the class. They loved it, right? It took us out of that boring normal 2D world into something that was much more immersive. That embodiment, I think they all felt much closer to their fellow students. And then we got to huddle around like in a configurative huddle and watch the presentations that they'd all done. So I thought this was a fun case use for this space.
And guys, we're not trying to sell anything here. We're just talking about the benefits of this world. I mean, really,
we're not selling. No, I know.
We're in our future pub crawls, and so we do visit them all.
I just, I think the reason that we come to this one is because the learning curve is it's easy. We can't, if we plopped you into Second Life, it takes like 5 hours to get going.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly right. This one has the shortest learning curve out of all of them. I really think that's the case. Even Roblox, quite frankly, and I'll tell you, my 5-year-old nephew's in it every day, and he's playing all sorts of stuff, and we can see it's mostly kids in there, right?
All right.
Duolingo is advertising in Roblox.
Yeah.
So it's not all kids.
It's not all kids. You're so right, Nathan. And they're going to age up, right? That's the thing. Okay, so am I gonna share, Lisa?
Let's go to Roblox. Okay. Let's do it.
Let's go to Roblox. All right, excellent. I'm gonna share my screen. All right, I'm gonna hop over to Roblox. So guys, if you guys want to join me here, I go into, let's get over here, sorry.
Hey, Billy, do you have to have an account and all that jazz to go in here?
You do, and you have to create so just follow me in Zoom, honey. Just follow me in Zoom.
I'm watching. I just have to log in for my kid.
Yeah, no, I get it. When you actually are looking in Roblox, just Vans World, I typed in the search box Vans and it pops up. This is where I am. And so come join me here. We're going to walk around this amazing branded experience. And this is something that Vans has created for everybody. How do I get rid of this stupid thing?
Honda's the most fuel-efficient automaker in America.
How to get rid of this.
You get more miles per gallon with Honda.
Yeah. Why am I hearing about Honda? Well, that was interesting. So here I have a skateboard, you guys. I'm going to mount my skateboard because I do not like walking around these worlds. I don't know if it's just because I'm getting old, man, but walking around in a virtual world is the last thing I want to be doing. Yeah. So skateboarding is more my style, right? So let's go into what they have actually created here in Vans. We're going to walk into this little space. And we're going to walk up to this guy right here, and it says avatar view. And I'm going to click on this, and it's going to load, and it's going to tell me, hey, you can buy a shirt. You can buy a sweatshirt. Or I can walk over here, and I can click on this one, and it's going to offer me to buy some headphones, right? Or some fun things like that. And if I walked over here, obviously, it would be hats. If I walked over here, it would be God only knows. I actually don't even know what this is. Let's take a look at this one. Avatar items. Oh, I can have wings. Look at that. I could get wings. And so that is the shopping experience while you're here. The other thing I really wanted to call it to your attention that we're here as we look around is how many other people are here. When you drop in, it's filled. There are people everywhere. This is not just us as a crowd. These are all sorts of people that are coming in here 24 hours a day. Every time I've been in this environment, there has been people playing around and kind of visiting each of these. And so it's an interesting environment that Vans has created.
There are some issues.
Please, Lisa.
Yeah,
there's definitely some issues.
So, it's interesting because comparing Nike Land. So of course, Nike Land and Vans are both in here and they're both a little different. And the thing that I love about this as I mount my skateboard too, is that it is really fun. Like it doesn't take a lot of time to become a skilled player. Wow, that's loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
It is loud.
Okay, stop. I'll stop. I'm loud. It's fun. It's actually fun. I'm not a big gamer by any means, but there's enough skill that it's challenging enough, but it's not so hard that it turns you off immediately. So, I mean, it's super fun. And I, just trying to do research for this show ended up and I played, and let's also say, it's tablet. So I could play in bed on my tablet. I don't like sitting at my PC to do anything really outside of work these days. I much prefer to be, away from my desk and somewhere comfy. And so this is, really great on a tablet. I played on my iPad and I played for a few hours and it was really fun. And within that few hours, I became a skilled player, which is great. But here's the downside of this thing. And there are a couple of things. So you think about buying your Vans, right? So it is cool. You can customize, they have a customize your Vans experience because, as brand marketers, I'm sure we're all like, well, what about the branded merch and stuff? And you can do that. And I actually have, but the problem is once you get your customized sneakers, you can't take them out of the experience, which is kind of a pain in the ass. It's like, what, if I go in and take the time to customize my Vans and put them on my little avatar and such, I want to go to Nike Land or I want to go wherever within this game, and I can't even take them with me within this game. So I think that's kind of a miss, and I'm not exactly sure why, why Vans would want to limit their brand exposure in that way. And Billy and I had a conversation about this, again, trying to be a fly on the wall of like why they made that decision, because they clearly made the decision for a reason, why they didn't want people to take their customized Vans outside of the experience. But it's an interesting one to think about, like, well, why not? It's also interesting that it costs money.
That was kind of where my head was going, was kind of the so what of it all. What am I getting out of this? Because that would, to me, be the ultimate. If I'm buying that off the shelf or that experience that I'm tapping into or whatever, that I couldn't if I'm sitting here in Portland, Oregon, and I want to be shopping on the Champs-Elysees or something.
You hit the nail on the head, Michelle. The so what of it? I mean, you should have seen. We walked into a Chipotle environment, and it was like, what am I supposed to do here? Make burritos? So what? What's the fun in that? It's like, yes, this is the new shiny object, but unless you have something that really, connects and it needs this environment, we shouldn't be here.
But it feels like it's just one crank away, one turn of the crank away.
So Billy and Lisa, question for you. Do you get, let's say 30 days from now, 60 days from now, okay, you've done it, you've been there. Is there enough to draw you back?
Well, that goes back to Lisa's chart of the active users, right? And you can see like Data Center Land and
Decentraland.
Thank you. It's losing people. I mean, they've lost active users dramatically.
I spent time in Data Center Land. I don't know if I want to go back there.
Exactly.
I never want to go back there again. I hate this. So I think, here's the thing that I think Roblox is doing right, Dave. And I think it's really important to remember, this is not, if you're a B2B marketer, this isn't your demo.
Yeah.
If you're selling servers, this is not your demo. This is their kids. Their kids are in here of the people that are the people that are buying servers, that their kids are in this platform. So that's number one. I think it's super important to remember that. However, I think there are the reason we're in here is because there are really good key lessons that you can can take from here to think about applying to a, you know, a demographic or a community that does have the right age and what they're doing right. And I think what they're doing right is if you think about a Vans, again, let's think about, put yourself in the foot in the shoes, haha, pun intended, of this audience member. If you're a Vans person, if you're a Vans brand advocate, like you're a Nike brand advocate, you're into skateboarding. That's what you're into. And this is really fun. If you're into, like, you can do kick flips, like you're just seeing the very tip of the iceberg around how much fun this thing is. So if you're 12 and into skateboarding and you have friends, and let's remember, it's social. Billy and I are friends. I'm joining her because we're tracking together. This is a very social platform. I'm following her. I can go. So you have a friend network in here. This is huge draw, and they're gaining users all the time. So what this platform is doing right, it's they know their audience, they create something that's fun. I think it's gamified in a really good way. They have things that speak to the you know, if you love Vans, and you're going to love this. It's accessible, it's tablet and phone. They know their audience, right? This isn't only PC, and this is why they have 150 million monthly active users.
And these kids are going to grow up, man. These kids are, you know, they're used to being here. You go where they're used to going, right?
It creates brand loyalty too, because there's some stickiness. And I think, Lisa, what resonates with me with what you said is the social aspect. Because I know that, you know, it's no longer like how many hours are you spending on a device. It's the connectivity that they're having in a very different way.
Absolutely. And I can walk up to any one of these people and have a conversation and have a friend, or I can have Lisa join me. You know, really, it's a way to be together.
Let's go to a different one more Roblox stop. Do you want to go to Nike Land? Let's show the Nike Land as a alternative
I can try to load Nike Land. It may take me a little.
But there are a lot of franchises in here. Stranger Days is in here. You know?
So Lisa, you just hit the nail on the head about why you can't take your Vans out of that last environment.
Yeah.
Bring him into Nike Land.
Nike Land.
Right? Nike barely lets other shoes onto their physical campus, let alone into their digital realm.
Right.
It's so true.
I mean, that's the thing about Roblox, is that every game is, right, Roblox is very much a world to your, right, and is almost an OS, if you will, for a metaverse where developers are building these worlds and games within Roblox, and not everything is a brand experience. Many things are indie creator experiences. Some things are totally inappropriate for children and far away from it. And those worlds are each created by their own. So like a lot of those checks that you have about always on, always, you know, that it's social, it's interoperable within that environment, there's a lot of that. But you also, because it's an environment of individual built spaces, there's also a lot of, you'd have to code those Van shoes into your Lisa world in order to have them there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, rant over.
Yeah, no, please. I love it.
All right, Lisa, what do you want me to do here in Nike Land?
Well,
this is not one I've played with a lot.
Yeah, I mean, there's the map. You can go to world. If you click on world,
yeah,
they've invested a lot of money in this, and there's there's a lot going on. So this is their world, and these are all the places you can go.
The tutorial is the on-screen tutorial and guides are totally different in this experience than they were in the Van space.
Totally different.
Vans had 4 different emotes right on the front that you could do with keyboard shortcuts. They had a button that said tutorial, and this just has your 3 primary actions.
Yes, big difference. Yeah.
In the same world.
And what does that say to you?
Roblox, right?
What does that say to you?
Probably was made later, and they probably learned a few lessons and they got better at it. Wouldn't you think, for Van? I mean, and they had a skateboard they wanted you to get on. They wanted to add a few things.
There's a hoverboard here.
Oh, good point. Good point. There is a hoverboard here. Oh, look, not a hoverboard. Thanks,
One of the things you were talking about, Billy, is like you hate walking. One
Yes,
of the things that Roblox does is they charge you for power-ups that let you fly.
Yes.
Right. So they're kind of doing some
money.
dark patterns of of making money off of the better user experience.
Yes. Yes. Oh, look at me. I'm totally stuck on a bench.
I want to be mindful, so I know we have about 4 minutes left, and so this has been awesome. And I think if I just want to give some final thoughts, and everybody can kind of share, but I think for me, the key takeaway as a marketer is we start thinking about these different spaces is really understanding the tools and understanding what you're trying to do. Are you trying to, are you bringing it on, right? The first question always is like, are you bringing the audience? Do you have a set number of people that you are going to have in an experience? Do you know who they are, or are you trying to do more customer acquisition? Do you need that proverbial foot traffic? If you need foot traffic, you've got to be in a virtual world. You're not going to build an immersive space that's not connected and have people magically show up there. So I think that was always for me, like kind of the first question, like, what am I trying to do with my campaign exactly? What problem am I solving? Do I need foot traffic? And if I need foot traffic, okay, what's my demo? Do I want to reach 20-year-olds? Do I want to reach 45-year-olds? Okay, 45-year-olds, great. Well, here's the list. Maybe I am looking to reach people over 45 who are technically savvy, who have disposable income and are creative. That's Second Life.
Yeah.
Got 1 million users in Second Life. That's what it is. And there's 1 million people there. There's a fish in the sea, as we like to say. And then the other thing is, well, no, actually, I have a summit where we've got 100 executives. I want to do something really cool. Well, now you're over here in the virtual space where you're going to bring those people. You don't need it to be open. In fact, you'd prefer it to not be, most likely, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's a great starting point. And then once you kind of have those two things, kind of once you know that, then you can kind of go down the rabbit hole of exploring the platform and all of that. But I think it's just, there's so much misinformation out there about the metaverse. We're going to have an event in the metaverse. It's like,
Oh
no.
gosh, yeah. And I would say, don't get distracted by the next, shiny object, right? I mean, there's a lot of hype here, but really we need to be very, very thoughtful about our approach and what we're doing.
Any final questions? You guys, thank you so much for joining the final Thursday of every month. If you want to be added, I have a recurring calendar invite. This is so casual, and it was so awesome having you all here. Drop your email in chat if you want me to add you to the actual calendar invite. I'm happy to do that. Also, I'll be posting on LinkedIn, so you're welcome to get the information on LinkedIn as well. So yay, Laura wants to be added. Any questions or comments? I could stay here and talk about this all night. I'm not in a hurry.
Thank you. I really appreciate you inviting me and all the education. Learned a ton, and is still more to learn. I'm sure it's ever evolving. I'm sure this space is just not static.
But now you have a really solid foundation, Michelle, and you know what you're talking about. And when you actually, somebody comes and approaches you as a metaverse and you see a 2D environment, you really know what you're getting.
Right.
And you now know what questions to ask.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thanks, Michelle, for joining. It's so good to connect with you.
Same. And I know I'm in the data center world, so we'll see how this evolves. And one day it will be super relevant, but I do know we're on the bleeding edge here. So.
And all of this is sitting on a cloud somewhere, right?
Great.
Yeah.
We love it. Good night.
So thanks, Billy. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you.
Thank
Someone
you.
in
Bye.
the
See you
chat
next
had a
time.
question about digital twins.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're still here. I had the most amazing digital twin experience with a siding company this week.
What?
Cool
I
is
took
that?
pictures of my dirty house and my dirty yard through a guided photographing experience. And this app took my 20 photographs of the front, corners, and sides of my house and created a perfect model of my house, removed the fig tree, removed the kiwi vines, took away all the trash, but even identified some of the new construction and concrete that we were putting in, and it created an accurate to scale, shape, and dimension model of my house.
Wow.
Based off of photographs and what it knows houses are supposed to look like.
Nice.
And then I got to use it to pick the siding, colors, and trim on my house, all from photographs, all on my mobile phone, and I could share it with my wife with a web link.
Wow. Wow. Are you going to buy through that company?
Highly likely. I'm at least going to design with them. Right?
Totally. They deserve your love.
So like, while sometimes it feels far away and like hard to use, sometimes it feels magic and really easy. Like as somebody who's been like selling XR tools for the last 6 years, this was one of the first where I was like, yes, I love this one. I want to do that again. So
That's a great experience.
they are there.
Oh, I want to know. I want to have that experience. Send it my way.
That app is called Hover.
Hover.
But I
Okay.
think you have to pay for the processing that they do in the cloud afterward. So,
Gotcha.
so sorry, I just
No,
had to
that's
give
all
you the
good. I
sense
love
about a
that.
digital twin.
Thank you,
Oh,
Nathan.
awesome. Okay, thanks.
Dave.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
good dinner.
Yeah, stick around if
Bye-bye.
you do have more questions. That's
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have to. We don't.
Yeah.
We get it. Have a good night, Laura. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks everyone
Thanks,
so much for
everybody.
joining. It was
And
so fun.
This was really good, and so thank you for sharing in the education and certainly learning a lot. So I appreciate the invite. My only concern is I still see there's a long way to go in terms of inclusivity and that piece there. Even on some of the generic names of LearnBright on Ivy League haircuts, stuff like that. It's, those can be stereotypes. So I think there's still opportunity that's there, but
Tremendous.
I can see the potential of it for sure.
No, you've hit the nail on the head. It's got so far to go, and to me, the space is so risky. And I want to do innovative things. I want to do breakthrough marketing, and it's just not there yet. It really isn't just there yet. Yeah,
but we have to start somewhere, right? Just like
we
with
do have to start somewhere.
the
That's
conversation we
right.
had earlier on the blockchain and some of the other features there. I love to see, or we talked about kind of the B2C pieces, right? With Vans, Nike, and some of those. I'd love to see how B2B handles these spaces as well. And I don't know if there were some examples of that, but that could be something.
We do have some good examples of that, like Lisa, like when they blew apart the engine, and that piece. We do have some good B2B
fun.
examples. There's not as many.
No, not as many. That's actually a really beautiful topic for our next one, Darren. That was a call to action. I was going to ask some people to suggest, why don't we make B2B immersive and our topic for our next.
I love that idea.
I
love
do too.
that idea.
All right.
Yeah,
I'd
be
be
excited to learn about that. Yeah, thank you, Verse. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
anything else? Anything else, Darren? I mean, really, we need ideas for future sessions.
Darren, are you on the meeting invite, Darren? Can I add you?
Not sure. It's actually Duran.
Oh, Duran, sorry, Duran.
Yeah, no worries. But I'd love to be on the meeting invite, so I'll put in my email as well. And I think Billy is the one who invited me, so I'm very grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thanks for being here. Really, I mean, I look at it from a marketing lens. You obviously, from a much more significant, how do you develop these right? And it's a great perspective. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for a good time.
Thank
you.
Thank
Duran,
you. Thank you.
Yeah, have a good night. Thanks,
Michelle.
Around.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Good to
Thanks,
connect with
Michelle.
you. Hi.
How are you? Did you have a question? Michelle, can you hear us?
Maybe she's trying to unmute.
Or maybe she's busy playing in World. I could totally see that.
Yeah. Right.
Plunking around. You do get lost in there. It's like, sucks you in.
It does suck you in.
Oh, good. Well, Lisa, thank you. I think that was really good. And I think we had quite a few people that actually joined.
Yeah.
And so I think it was a good session. And I know that it's going to be out on Twitch. So maybe you can share the link to everybody so that those that could not attend can be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, I should end our Twitch